Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining here at Unapologetically Progressive. Once again, I am back with another video, and this time we're going to talk about the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book. Now, if you don't know what the Jeffrey Epstein birthday book is, that's understandable. A lot of people didn't even know it existed until, a few months ago, really. But it's a compilation, basically, of all the letters and discussions and a lot of pictures that were put together for Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday back in 2003. Now, there's a lot of stuff in there from a lot of people, including Bill Clinton and other, socialites and, the rich folks, right? There's a lot of them there. There are a lot of them in that book. Now, the one thing we're going to focus on today, though, is Donald Trump and what he sent for the 50th birthday of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, what Donald Trump sent was this. I'm going to read you this what he has written out here. It's almost like a little conversation, but it's just written by Donald Trump. It starts off with voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything. And then Donald goes on to write this whole little thing. It says, Donald, as if Donald's speaking. It says, yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. And then Jeffrey responds with, nor will I, since I know what it is. And then Donald responds with, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey responds, yes, we do. Come to think of it, then Donald's response is, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? And then Jeffrey supposedly says, as a matter of fact, it's clear to me the last time I saw you. Then Donald goes on to say, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Now, there's nothing overtly terrible about what was written there. But knowing what Jeffrey Epstein was into and what he was doing and what Donald Trump has been accused of doing, you can just imagine what those secrets are. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into what Donald Trump did or didn't do, because I have no facts right now in front of me telling me that he did anything illegal or not. There have been, probably some 24 claims against Donald Trump for sexual activity. He has been, convicted, or not really, I guess he was convicted, in a civil lawsuit, and found liable for the rape of E. Jean Carroll. So you don't have to go very far to figure out, what the innuendo is here, right? What the secret is, what they have in common, right? But we're not going to get too much into that. What we're going to talk about today is the fact that he says none of this is real. He says it's all a hoax, that this didn't happen, he didn't write this, and that he didn't sign it at the bottom of the page. That's what he's going to tell you. And that's what he's already been saying, right? But first off, take a look at these different signatures here. There's the signature right there. And that is the signature from this document, right? The very top one is the document that you see here. Now, these are some other signatures from Donald J. Trump here at the bottom. If you notice, just a glancery look, you can tell, yeah, they look quite a bit alike, right? People usually have pretty specific handwriting, specific ways they sign things. And if you take a look, they all look almost identical, right? Here it is zoomed in a little further. There's Donald. Take a look at especially the one here in the middle. The Donald here in the middle, see, same D. And you got the same, LD here at the end with the same little shimmy in the middle, which don't really make any actual letters. It's a very consistent signature. Like everywhere he has signed his name, it's the same. Just about identical in every single one of these spots. Now, here's the thing. He wants to say this is all fake. But would the Republicans have released this if it was fake? Because the Republicans aren't trying to take down their leader, right? Because if you go through this little book, you'll notice a lot of things are redacted. A lot of things are redacted. A lot of names and even a lot of faces in the pictures are redacted. And some of those redactions are males. You can tell by the clues or the contact clues around what is blacked out. And on one list, you see a list of friends, and there's surprisingly a big black mark through one name. Now, we all know that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were close friends as of 2003. Trump says by 2006 he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and kicked him, was no longer his friend. Even though after 2006 he talked a few different times about how Jeffrey Epstein was a great guy. Now, here's the thing. Nobody is disputing whether or not Bill Clinton's signature is real. Not even Bill Clinton. Not even Hillary Clinton. There's no talk of a vast right-wing conspiracy when it comes to Bill Clinton and his signature on that letter in that book. I truly believe that with Bill Clinton on there in that book, with all the people that have such explicit stories, that yes, I believe Bill Clinton should be investigated for his potential connection to the crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein. But by that same line, though, that same token, so should Donald Trump, because that signature there at the top matches the three signatures below it. Now, I am no, handwriting expert, but either Donald Trump signed that letter, or he has somebody else signing all his other signatures. But you notice that, and they all have that same trail off, the same, off the L, loop around trail, right? Like I said, I'm no expert, but they look pretty much identical to me. And I've only come across a few people that would sign their name differently. Those people that don't have hand dexterity to hold a pen, and those people who just sign an X, right? But what do you think? Do you think Donald Trump signed that letter? Do you think it was real? Do you think it's authentic? Now, Donald Trump is claiming, and his people are claiming, that it's all fake, that it's generated somehow. But like I said, do you really think the Republican Party is trying to take down Donald Trump? Do you really think they would be doing that? Do you really think that's why they released these files, redacted in the way that they were redacted? Because if they were trying to take down Donald Trump, they would release all the files unredacted, at least with everything that involved Donald Trump. Now, we know from somebody over at the DOJ from just last week that upon the release of these files, we would know, he'd let it be known ahead of time that, this undercover, video, that they would be redacting all the Republican names they could. Right? It makes you wonder who's in that list of friends that was redacted. Something tells me it's Donald Trump. But you want to get rid of all these notions of bullshit like that, whether or not he's connected to it or not? I have a solution. I have a really easy solution for Donald Trump. Have the Republicans go in and release the files unredacted, at least for everything that involves Donald Trump. Right? That would be the solution to the problem. That would get people off the scent, right? That would get them off the case. But guess what? They can't do that because they know he's implicated in it. They know it's real. They know that he put this sent this to him, whether he drew the picture or not. He sent the writing. He signed it at the bottom of the page. Now, like I said, I don't have proof that he did anything nefarious, with Jeffrey Epstein. But seeing what was written there, seeing how he has been, found liable for sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll, how there's over 30 women who have accused him of sexual assault, and how there are, there was even underage, women that were underage at the time who have put forth that they were sexually assaulted by Donald J. Trump. Now, you put that all together, and it does seem very damning that he may have literally done this stuff. And I think it's absolutely despicable that anybody would have done that. But honestly, what we have going on right now is, facts coming out and Trump automatically calling it a hoax, calling it fake, calling it AI, and all that kind of BS. We know it's not true. We know for a fact of his history. We know his history for a fact. We know what he has said about young women. We know what he has said about his daughter and how, he was never allowed to date anybody um, um, younger than her. Get this, she said that when she was 17, and at the time of the interview, she had just turned 17, and he said that really makes that the older she gets, the more it limits the dating pool. What does that sound like to you? Like I said, I'm not going to tell people what to think about this. I'm not. And I'm not going to sit here and say he did it. I'm going to say, I'm not going to say he didn't do it. But what I will say is look at his history. Look at his history of lying. Look at his history of, the things he's said, things he's done. And then you come up with what you think happened. What you think he did with Jeffrey Epstein. But I can tell you this, anybody that was associated with Jeffrey Epstein, I don't care if they're a Democrat, Republican, I don't care if they're clergy or atheist, I don't care who they are. If they are in any of these files and they are directly connected to Jeffrey Epstein in any criminal way, they need to be put in prison. Period. End of story. I don't see any other way around it. I hope there's an investigation into Bill Clinton. I hope there's an investigation into everyone else who's in that list. I think there's a very predominant attorney in that list who happens to be left-leaning. So those people need to be investigated, especially with the stories that some of them told in that birthday book. Now, as I go through more of the birthday book and go through more of the files, I will bring you more information about this. And hopefully we'll be making more videos tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday about it, about different sections of what gets released, what doesn't get released. But on Friday, I do really want to talk about what happened with some liberal creators, like David Pakman, Tyler Cohen, and others, right? When it comes to the Chorus scandal and the dark money coming into through Chorus for some of those people, and what I think about it. Anyhow, I'll see you down the road.